Lentra and CNBC TV-18 Digital Lending Summit, Mumbai, India.
We have a fireside chat soon, and I would also request CNBC TV-18's Latha Venkatesh to join Mr. Khara on stage for a fireside chat.
Thank you very much, Mr. Khara, for joining us. Well, technology and banking, or technology and finance, is such a vast space that a former city banker has almost explained or described banking as technology companies with a banking license. So it's really a vast terrain. Since financial inclusion is going to be covered by the next panel, where your colleague, Mr. Tiwari, is also going to be present, I will exclude inclusion and look at two or three other questions that have risen just over the last, few months, and they face, they may change the face of financial sector and technology in India. One of them you raised yourself, of course, the DPDP bill, the Digital Privacy Bill. But before I come to that, let me ask you or request you to put the journey of banks and fintechs in perspective. Do you think the relationship between the two has changed in any way? Was it more competitive and combative initially when fintechs appeared? Has it become collaborative, or has it not? If you could just explain how you see it.
Thank you very much, Latha, for this opportunity. Very interesting question. The way I look at this particular space, banks have got an advantage in terms of network. Banks have got an advantage in terms of the trust which they have built over the years. So naturally, when it comes to India as an economy, it is essentially a bank-led economy. Having said that, banking actually is now very, very critical, and also is forming part of everybody's life as a person, and also a very critical role it plays for the economy. So in that context, the size of our nation, the complexities which are there, perhaps banks are the one who deal with a huge set of data. And while doing that, the fintech or the technology providers, they have a major contribution to make. We have seen that over the years, there is an increasing adoption of technology in the banking system. And now we have come to a stage where we are observing the technology being adopted practically in areas which are beyond imagination. I would say that perhaps it's a stage where banking is coming to meet the expectations of the customers, and while doing so, there is an effort in terms of offering the frictionless solutions. And to really offer the frictionless solution, to my mind, technology has a very important role to play. In order to really make an assessment about the customer's profile, right from there, where actually banks are now using analytics. Banks are thinking in terms of offering the hyper-personalized solutions. So this is nothing but the next level of collaboration between the fintech and the banks. Having said that, I also must mention, over the years, banks have been accustomed of operating in the regulated environment, where the boundary conditions are very tightly defined by the regulator, and fintech are relatively the free birds. So how to really make them understand that in the financial sector, one has to operate, if I may say so, use the anomaly of a bird and the cage. The boundaries of the cage cannot be oversighted ever. So that is something which I would like to say, that as banker, we can probably hold their hand and probably help them in operating within the boundary conditions. And this eventually, believe me, will lead to the trust creation in the FinTech also by the customers. Because eventually, this is one sector where you play a fiduciary role. You play with the savings of millions and billions.
Yes.
And you also help in creating the lives of millions and billions by lending. So it's a it's a fiduciary responsibility where the regulator has got immense role to play, and we must not undermine that.
Fair point, sir. Looks like it's becoming collaborative, but one can notice the the boundaries of combativeness, or at least disagreement between banks and fintechs. Let me just develop on that point. The Reserve Bank governor looks like is at the moment on your side when he alerted in a recent speech that algorithm-based lending needs to be recalibrated constantly. There was, of course, the risk weights also placed on unsecured loans. So do you think, or is it a common practice now, both among bankers at State Bank and others, to relook at the co-lending partners? Are their algos good enough, or do you fear that fintech algo-based lending needs to be overseen? Are they too facile or perhaps not very relevant in terms of the parameters they use, considering the threat or the caution raised by the governor?
No, I think when it comes to digital lending, we as the bank also, we have got various algorithm-based lending principles, and we have also created a book. But as a banker, we also keep on revisiting our algos, because unless and until the algos are something which are relevant in the current day context and also meant for the target customer segment, we can have a challenge of the quality of the asset which we have underwritten. So with that in mind, it is, I think, what Honorable Governor has mentioned in terms of validating the algorithms or the models, I think is a very, very right approach. Even as lender, we have observed that over a period of time, we probably cannot afford to have the similar set of principles for lending, particularly when it comes to algorithm. So algorithm, we have to keep on revisiting. And actually, we are using a lot of machine learning, and our experiences which we have, we keep on integrating our actual ground level experience with our algorithms so that we can improve upon the algorithms. Okay. So as a bank, we keep on doing that.
Lately, has it changed? Yeah. Lately, have you all upped the ante in terms of new to lending customers that are originating from fintechs? Has the surveillance increased?
Yeah, that is true. When it comes to our co-lending principles, which you had referred to in the previous question also, our effort is, of course, when it comes to the customer selection, which is essentially done by the co-lending partner. But when it comes to assessment of the risk, we do have an oversight. And if at all we are not comfortable, we do prescribe the standards which are required to be administered to underwrite a particular set of customers. So new to business, of course, due to business, there is another plus is that now today, the unstructured information which is available, that is actually increasing every day.
Yes.
And that is giving a much better insight into the customer behavior, and also it helps the lender in assessing the credibility of the borrower also.
Okay. So the other new news in this area of fintechs and non-fintech bank lending is the fintech repository that the governor has announced. From what little we have been able to understand is that they have invited, it's a voluntary effort, they are going to invite fintechs to register in that repository and describe themselves. So my understanding is that, you register, there are fintechs with perhaps one or two or a few apps, and they describe the apps, and banks can perhaps pay a license fee and use them. How do you see this repository? What are your hopes and fears with respect to it?
No, in fact, I am a major supporter of this particular idea for the simple reason that today when it comes to banking, we consume a lot of fintech services. And when we consume a lot of fintech services, we have to have some kind of a standardization of those fintechs. Because why? Because, this is one sector where the contagion flows in no time. It's I would say, it flows as on yesterday. That is the kind of a pace. So with that kind of a situation, unless and until this, if at all there is a repository at RBI end, it will actually help the lending institution, or for that matter the banks, to engage with the right set of fintechs whose credentials have been looked into by the regulator. I would say that it is not licensed, but at the same time, it's a, if I may say, it's a marketplace from where the bankers can pick up the fintech. But again, being a marketplace, I expect that there would be some kind of a validation of the credentials of these fintechs. So I would say that maybe the way I perceive it, perhaps it's a SRO kind of effort on the part of Reserve Bank of India, but certainly a very well thought of effort to ensure that the whole ecosystem is secure.
I am not sure the Reserve Bank has so far said that they will validate those who register. They are hoping that those who have the courage to register are consider themselves above board. So I'm not very sure whether they're going to validate. What is very clear is that they're going to hand it over to the SRO as and when it comes.
Yes.
So any further thoughts on this?
No, I think even if that happens, see, the point is that, as I mentioned, that it's more like a marketplace of the fintech. So at least it has become an aggregator, and from here on, the journey will be very, very clearly charted.
Okay.
How it should move.
Okay. A final question to you, sir. This public cloud that Reserve Bank is just announced it's going to put in place. An earlier speaker mentioned that whereas in the US, a larger part of the fintech is for creating tech infrastructure and smaller for customer interface. In India, it's the other way around. 70% is customer interface, only 30% is infra. With the RBI stepping in to put the cloud infra, do you think that this is a quantum leap in terms of, everything, cybersecurity, availability of digital information, maybe application of AI?
It's a very major step, if you really ask me. One, of course, as financial institutions, we were always unsure about the cloud policy, that how much of the financial data, how much of non-financial data can be kept in the cloud. One, of course, the data residency had become an important area, which, of course, gets addressed if at all the cloud is hosted by none other than RBI. So I think it's a very major development, and I would say that because today when it comes to the financial system and also the players in the financial system, they're of different hues and colors. And naturally, everybody would not have been in a position to invest into cloud, or maybe this is a better way to ensure if at all they have to go to the public cloud, they might as well go to the RBI's cloud. So that I would say that it is, and also it has to be kept in mind that the new DPDI which is coming, even that will also give lot many obligation on the part of the players in the financial sector. And if at all the cloud is hosted by the Reserve Bank of India, then perhaps even those aspects can also be addressed in due course. So I think it's a very positive development and in the right.
Okay. From a very lay citizen point of view, for me it looked like a cloud, a public infrastructure. A cloud as a form of public infrastructure does at least two things. Data localization is not a problem because there is no fear that data will go out. And secondly, there is no fear that a sanction on SWIFT-like, sanction on some global, big tech will not harm us. We are perhaps isolated. You think those are obvious advantages?
No, see, again, SWIFT and all those kind of things are essentially, if at all there are international trades. If at all you are inbound economy, then there is no challenge whatsoever.
Okay.
So, but nevertheless, what I always perceive is that the credibility of this particular cloud will be significantly more. And perhaps when institutions will feel free to host and also come out with the products which should be cloud native also. Okay. So actually computing will become very fast.
That was what? You are on Meghdut, your own cloud.
It's a local cloud which we have created.
Okay. Would you also think of shifting?
No, we have got a huge requirement for when it comes to our data storage, So as of now, we were doing it on-prem and something we are doing it on Meghdut. But yes, of course, increasingly, we are quite open. We are evaluating all kind of options for consuming the cloud services too.
Okay. A final question to you, sir. Do you think this DPDP bill is going to slow down the process for some time as and when it comes? I mean, you have to take permission from, what, 200 million bank accounts in the country? I wouldn't know.
Yeah, consent is a very critical component in that. And of course, we are waiting for the final guidelines. Once those guidelines are available, we will be in a position to assess the work which is involved. But yes, of course, as it happens, that invariably, I'm sure even I expect that maybe there would be some time given for the transition also. So that time will have to be optimally put to use so that the organizations becomes ready for implementation of this bill. And also mind it, it is going to be all across. It is not merely banking system. It is the life as a whole. Because when it comes to data, everything is a data today. My coming over here is also data.
Yes.
So I think to that extent, how much of that data I would like to share, whether I can click a photograph of somebody, I'll have to take a permission. So there has to be a consent manager. So these are the kind of things. When the GDPR got implemented, there were initial instances, some of the commercial shops had the camera which are outside the branch, outside the office, maybe the commercial establishment.
Yes.
And somebody went to the extent of saying that it is infringing into my privacy. So that is the kind of a situation. And I am not really aware what will be the size of the complications which will emerge in this bill. But nevertheless, as an organization, we're all geared up. We have seen so many changes. I think change is the only permanent in life.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. So this covers a very large gamut. More collaboration with fintechs on the part of the legacy banking sector. But there are edges of areas where collaboration and cooperation has to be achieved. But I think you end with a very important warning that, the DPDP bill imposes, the Data Protection Digital Privacy Bill imposes some very important responsibilities on all sides, and we will have to see how that evolves. That discussion for another day. Thank you very much, sir, for spending time with us.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Lentra and CNBC TV-18 Digital Lending Summit, Mumbai, India.